What if the one thing you never wanted from your past suddenly resurfaced in the form of a $500,000 check? This isn't a story about revenge or rekindling love. It's about a single mother who never expected a mistake to alter the course of her life. And it all started with an accidental email that would force her to confront not just her past, but the secrets she'd long buried. Like and subscribe if you've ever found yourself stuck between survival and pride, unsure of whether to accept a hand extended from your past. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. If you've ever made a mistake so simple it felt like it couldn't possibly matter, then you might understand what happened to me that afternoon. I never thought sending a utility bill to the wrong email address could change everything, but that's exactly what it did. To be fair, it wasn't like I had much choice. I had just finished a grueling day of balancing spreadsheets, wrangling two sick twins, and trying to make sure our modest accounting firm stayed afloat despite the constant pressure of overdue client payments. I was exhausted, and frankly, the last thing on my mind was whether Ethan, my ex-husband, even remembered who I was, let alone where I lived. But there it was, the email. The bill went out with a single click of my fingers, and at the time, I didn't give it much thought. I didn't even check the recipient address. A simple mistake, I thought. Just another task done. The moment the notification pinged into my inbox that afternoon, I thought it was spam. After all, Ethan hadn't reached out in years, not even a holiday card for the twins. Not since the day he left without a word, without even saying goodbye. It was his choice to disappear, and for a long time, I kept my anger locked up, buried under the weight of raising the twins by myself. The twins. They were 5 now, and they needed me. They needed me to be strong, to be enough. Ethan, I had buried his memory with all the other broken promises. So, when I saw the notification pop up from his email, I figured it was one of those corporate newsletters or another one of those "we've been thinking of you" messages that never meant anything. But then, the amount, $500,000, made my heart stop. I sat there staring at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Was this real? I quickly opened the email, expecting some sort of mistake. Maybe it was a glitch, a misdirected wire transfer from some other confused account. I read the subject line again, "Payment for utility bill for the twins." I blinked hard, certain my mind was playing tricks on me. But there it was, the amount, $500,000. My heart skipped a beat, but my fingers froze. The cold weight of the screen seemed to hold me in place, as if the universe was daring me to figure out what to do next. And then I saw it. The simple note that followed the payment amount sent a chill down my spine. It read, "For the twins." And that's when I realized something was terribly wrong. Ethan, the man who had walked out of our lives without a word, who had left me alone to fight the world for our kids, was somehow back. I'd never been foolish enough to think he would ever care again. Not after everything. But this was different. I sat at my desk, staring at the blinking cursor on my screen as my fingers gripped the edge of the desk. What was I supposed to do? Send it back? Accept it? I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't just ignore it. Not after everything. Not after all these years of struggling, of scraping by to make sure my kids had everything they needed. I was tired. So damn tired of fighting for every little thing. And now this. The money was more than I'd ever dreamed of. More than enough to cover the bills, the debts, the rent. It was more than a lifeline. But it also came with a weight. A responsibility I didn't know if I was ready to bear. What did this mean? Was this just some guilt-fueled gesture, or was there more? I could feel the tension building in my chest, tightening with every second I sat there, frozen in front of the screen. And then, a new message popped up, another from Ethan, almost immediately after the first. This time, there was no ambiguity, no subject line, just a short message, "I'm sorry for everything." I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen, my mind racing. Did he really think a check could fix this? Did he think $500,000 would somehow erase the years of hurt and abandonment? Was it even possible to forgive him for the pain he caused? For the silence he left in his wake? Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe I should just take the money and never look back. But somehow, the gesture felt wrong. It felt like it came with strings, invisible, but powerful enough to keep me tangled up in the past I tried so hard to leave behind. I should have deleted the email. I should have ignored it, told myself that the past was the past, and it had no place in my life anymore. But as I sat there, staring at the screen, A decision began to form in the pit of my stomach. I would call him. I would demand answers. And whatever came next, I would be ready. For the twins. For myself. I wish I could say that the decision to call Ethan was easy. But it wasn't. Every fiber of my being told me to walk away. To ignore the payment and the apology and just carry on as I had. With the twins, with the constant pressure of work, with the life I had built in his absence. But something gnawed at me, and I couldn't let go of the feeling that this was more than just an accidental email. It felt like a lifeline, and I'd be damned if I let pride stand in the way of something that could change the course of my life. The phone call came sooner than I expected. Ethan picked up after the first ring, his voice as calm and detached as I remembered. "Olivia," he said, the coolness of his greeting biting through the line. I hated the way it made me feel like nothing had changed, like he could still dismiss me like I was just a part of the past he had moved on from. But the anger wasn't as strong as it used to be. It had dulled over time, a sharp edge blunted by years of distance. And now, with his apology hanging between us like a silent promise, I wasn't sure what to feel. "You sent me a check," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. $500,000. What? There was a long pause on the other end, a moment that stretched too long, enough for my chest to tighten with frustration. Ethan had always been good at keeping his emotions buried, but this time, there was something else in the silence, something I couldn't quite place. "I know it's a lot," he finally said, his voice softer now, almost unsure. "But I wanted to make things right. I wanted to help, for the twins." The twins. It was as if that one word was the key that unlocked everything. The memories I'd shoved deep inside me, the ones I promised myself I'd never dig up again, resurfaced like waves crashing into the shore. I saw the way his face had looked when he left, cold, indifferent, and free of any guilt. I saw him walking away from our life, from me, from everything he had promised. "I didn't ask for your help," I said, trying to mask the hurt in my voice. "You left us. You don't get to just show up and throw money at us and expect everything to be okay." "I know," he said quietly. "I know I don't have the right to ask for forgiveness. I don't even expect you to accept it. But I want to be there for them. For you. If you'll let me." I was silent for a moment, my mind racing. Could I really do this? Could I let him back in? Even if it was just to help with the twins? Could I let him undo the damage he'd caused? Even if it was just through a check and some empty words? "Why now?" I finally asked. "Why after all this time?" "I've been thinking about it a lot," he said, his voice more hesitant now, more vulnerable. "I've been a coward. I've run from everything. From you, from them, from my own responsibility. I can't undo the past, but I want to try. I want to be a part of their lives, if you'll allow me." I let out a long breath, my emotions swirling inside me. Part of me wanted to scream at him, to remind him of everything he had taken from us, of all the days I spent alone with the twins, of all the nights I cried myself to sleep because he wasn't there. But another part of me, the part one tried to keep hidden, wondered if this was the opportunity one had been waiting for. Was this my chance to finally stop doing everything alone? Could I really let him back into our lives, knowing it would open up old wounds? "Why the money?" I asked, my voice quieter now, the sting of betrayal still lingering. "What do you think that's going to do?" "I don't know," he admitted. "I thought maybe it would make up for something, even if it's not enough. But I understand if you can't accept it. I didn't want to be another absent father. Not after everything." I closed my eyes, the weight of the decision heavy on my chest. It wasn't about the money. It never had been. It was about the idea that Ethan, the man who had abandoned us, was now trying to fix everything with a check. It wasn't that simple. It couldn't be. "You can't just buy your way back into their lives," I said firmly. "You have to prove you're going to be here, that you won't just disappear again." There was a long silence. I could feel him processing my words, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for something real. "I know," he said softly. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to prove I can be there for them. And for you, if you'll let me." I leaned back in my chair, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. I had no idea what the future held. I didn't know if I could ever forgive him for everything he had done, but part of me, the part one had buried deep inside, still wanted to believe in the possibility of redemption. For him, for us, for the twins. "I'm not making any promises," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. "But I'm willing to let you try. For the twins. Another long pause. And then he said the words I wasn't sure I would ever hear. Thank you. We hung up without another word, and I sat there, my heart pounding in my chest, wondering if I had just made the right decision. I didn't know what would come next. I didn't know if this was the beginning of something new or just another mistake waiting to happen. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of hope. The past wasn't gone, but maybe, just maybe, the future didn't have to be as painful as the past. The following weeks were a blur of strange and unexpected emotions. Ethan kept his word. He called regularly, sent thoughtful gifts for the twins, and even showed up at their school events. His presence felt awkward at first, like an unfamiliar face in a familiar place. But slowly, the walls I had built around my heart started to crack. I didn't know if I could ever fully trust him again, but I couldn't deny that his attempts were different this time. Genuine, though imperfect. Then came the day he asked to meet in person. He wanted to discuss the twins, their future, and his role in it. I agreed, but with hesitation. When he showed up at the park, his expression was more vulnerable than I'd ever seen, as if he was aware of how fragile everything was. I know I can't make up for the past, he said, his voice soft. But I'm here now, and I want to do right by them. By you. I looked at him, not with anger anymore, but with a cautious hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild something. Not the past, but something new. I nodded slowly. Let's take it one step at a time. As I watched him interact with the twins, genuinely engaged, listening, trying to make up for the years he had missed, I felt a shift. This wasn't going to be easy. But for the first time in years, I allowed myself to believe that we could make this work. For them. For us. And, maybe for the first time, I wasn't fighting alone anymore.